DePaul alumni, Karen Kopf here. I played tennis at DePaul from 2000 to 2004 and went to law school there from 2004 to 2007. I'm here with you today because I'm also a running coach, and I'm happy to provide some tips for warm-up. And if you're getting ready for the virtual race that we have for DePaul, we're so excited that you're joining us, and these warm-ups are really important as you get ready for your race, but also for all of your training runs. I wanted to share with you that holding stretches for long periods of time, really anything over 10, 20, 30 seconds, is really not smart for before your run or before your workout. You want to save those, if anything, for after your workout. So I'm going to show you some dynamic stretches today that are really important to do before you start your workout or your run. Now, dynamic stretches are stretches that kind of move the body and are definitely nothing where we're holding for long periods of time, like static stretching. So some examples, and we'll go through some of these or some similar ones, are neck rolls, hip rolls, leg swings, front and back and side to side, world's perfect stretch. We also love to do anything that has to do with squatting because that makes those legs really strong and kind of activates the glutes, which are really important muscles for runners. A lot of times those go underutilized, and we want to make sure that we really activate those before we get running. So let's jump right in. I'm going to show you several different ones. You're probably going to want to do these depending on the exercise, a couple sets of 10 each, maybe run through the whole thing first and then do another set or two before you get started. So the first one we're going to do is neck rolls. So you're just going to have your hands on your hips, hips and feet hip width apart, and you are going to just roll in one direction, keeping the rest of your body pretty steady. Let's do about 5 in each direction. You start to get a little bit motion sick if you do too many of these. For these, one tip that I have is don't raise your shoulders up like this to do them. To get more range of motion, you really want to keep your shoulders back and down and have those hands on the hips and really keep everything else steady. You don't want to be waving back and forth as we do these. It's really just your neck that's rolling, okay? So each direction, let's do about 5 on those. Okay, next thing is going to be arm circles. It's really basic, and a lot of people don't like these for running, but when you're running long distances or even just a couple miles at a time, that back and forth motion for your arms can be really detrimental to those shoulders if you're holding them in a weird position, or you tend to come up like this when you're running. So you really want to make sure that you keep, again, shoulders back and down. You're just going to have your arms out. We're going to strengthen those shoulders and keep the mobility there. We're going to start off with 10 forward and 10 back. And then we're going to get a little bit larger with it. So we're going to go forwards for 10, backwards for 10, and then we'll get bigger circles. So again, this is just kind of increasing that range of motion so that when we have our long runs and we're really holding those shoulders and arms in one position pretty much for long periods of time, half hour, few hours at a time, if you're doing a half marathon, that can be really bad for those shoulders. Again, we kind of get into where we get that inflammation in there because your body says, what are you trying to do here? You're keeping your arms in the same position, just going back and forth for long periods of time. So we want to make sure we keep those mobility in the shoulders. Mine are a little tight right now, as you can see. So forward and backwards, 10 each on that one, okay? So next, we're gonna have our feet a little bit wider than hip width apart. You're gonna have those hands on the hips, and we're gonna do some hip rolls, okay? So you're just gonna go all the way forward, trying to keep that back nice and straight, almost like you would with like a deadlift or something like that. You definitely don't want to be arched over like this. You really want to stay nice and upright, and you're really going to feel this in the back of your legs. The whole posterior chain is going to feel this, and that's what's really important, is if you get that range of motion for running, because we're in this one position for all of our workouts, right? For all of our runs. And so we just want to make sure that we're really opening that all up and keeping those things limber and mobile. So you're going to do about 10 in each direction of that. So after you do one direction, you're going to switch to that other direction as far as what you're going down to first, okay? So after you're done with that, we do have one that's sometimes a little hard for people because they might not have as much range of motion in their hips, but you're going to have your hips, again, a little bit wider than hip width. And you're just going to you might not be able to see on the video, but you're actually just going to bend into one leg and stand up, and then bend into the other leg. And so it's just kind of like an alternating lunge to the side. So a side lunge alternating, okay? And so with this, you just wanna make sure that your feet are the widest thing out. You don't want your knee to go over top of your feet. You always wanna make sure those are nice and far out, and that when you're going over that foot, it doesn't kind of roll to the outside where your foot is kind of rolling over. You want to make sure that that stays pretty in line and have that foot be the farthest out thing, okay? So that'll really make those hips a little bit more warmed up as well. You'll feel that in the inner part of your thighs as well, which can be underutilized as well as running. So it's good to get the blood flowing to those spots where you know they're going to be a little bit tough for runs. Next thing we're going to do is some forward lunges. So we're just going to step in, forward lunge. I know it's hard to see on the video, but forward lunge, forward lunge. Again, here we do not want our knee to go past the front of our foot there, okay? And I will actually adjust the screen just a little bit here so you can see a little bit better. We don't want anything to go over top of that front foot, okay? So no knee, definitely no thigh. We want to keep it kind of in line. So we definitely want to make sure that we're taking our time with this and really pushing up back into that foot to make sure that we have the right muscles being engaged before our run. And I think that's all we'll do for today. The only last thing I would say is if you want to do some nice big squats, you can do some body weight squats and just make sure you're coming all the way down and all the way up, okay? And those just really help with kind of opening up those hips. I would say if you want to hold one, again, we're not going to hold for long periods of time before our run, but if you want to hold one, you can come down into a deep squat and kind of just hold it, but feet have to be flat on the ground for that, okay? So make sure you have your feet flat on the ground. That's also both of those are also great exercises for after the run. Thanks so much for watching. Good luck on your run.